January 2026. A man who once held absolute power now sits in a cold cell in Brooklyn, New York. Nicolas Maduro's fall feels like the end of an era, but to understand how this story truly began, we must travel back exactly 67 years to January 8th, 1959, a day when the streets of Havana didn't smell like gasoline and despair, but like cigars and hope. This is the story of the day a myth was born, and the shadow it cast over a continent for decades. Fulgencio Batista had fled Cuba on New Year's Day, but Fidel Castro was nowhere to be found in the capital. He was orchestrating a masterclass in branding. For 7 days, he crossed the island in what he called the Caravan of Liberty. He wasn't just moving troops, he was moving a nation's soul. By the time he reached the gates of Havana on January 8th, the city was vibrating. The world was watching the birth of a new kind of leader. Havana, January 8th, 1959. The atmosphere was electric. Castro entered on a tank surrounded by the bearded ones. To the crowds, they weren't just soldiers, they were saints with rifles. This wasn't a military coup, it was a religious experience. The United States watched from the sidelines, uncertain if they were witnessing a democratic rebirth or the start of a nightmare. That night at Camp Columbia, the myth became legend. As Fidel spoke, 3 white doves were released. One of them landed on his shoulder. To a deeply religious population, the message was clear. He was the chosen one. But as the crowd cheered, the reality of the business of power began. The purge was coming. The promises of free elections were already beginning to evaporate in the humid Caribbean night. Decades passed, the beard turned gray, but the ideology was exported. Cuba became the blueprint for a new generation of leaders in Latin America. From Caracas to Managua, the methods of 1959 were refined. Control of the narrative, the cult of personality, and the promise of a utopia that was always just around the corner. Nicolas Maduro was the ultimate student of this school. Which brings us back to today. The capture of Maduro isn't just a news headline, it's the closing of a circle that began 67 years ago. On January 8, 1959, a revolution promised the world. Today, the world watches as the last remnants of that dream face reality. History doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. The tanks of Havana have been replaced by the courtrooms of New York. The entry into Havana was meant to be the start of forever, but time is the only thing no revolution can defeat. As we mark another January 8th, we ask, is this the final breath of the 1959 era? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to understand the events that shape our tomorrow, subscribe to WTH. Don't forget to like and share. History is happening right now.